The other day I had an email from a reader who wants to reproduce his father's favorite baseball bat. He had dimensions taken at intervals along the length of the original bat, and he wants to create a pattern. And he asked about how to do that in SketchUp. Here's how I showed him. There's actually a couple of methods. I showed him this first one. So I'm going to lay out a guideline along the red axis. That just gives me a place to snap to easily with the tape measure tool here and doing the layout. I'm using dimensions I found on the internet for a baseball bat, and so this isn't exactly his bat. I put a guideline in. This one represents the top part of the knob where the actual handle of the bat is. And I'm going to copy that at the interval. In this case it's 5 inches. And I'm going to make an array of guidelines. So I typed 5 and hit enter, and then *6. That gives me the number of copies that I need. And then from there I can draw offsets or place guidelines at offsets. So the first one is 5/8 of an inch. These are going to be the radius values along the length of the bat. And those will be the points through which curves will pass, or a curve will pass. And there's the last one for that. The ends up we'll take care of separately. Now to draw this curve that passes through these points, I'm going to use a Catmull spline from the Bezier spline extension. And we just click on the guide points like that and double click to set the last one. Now the precision setting for this curve by default is 7 segments. So that's 7 segments between control points. I'm going to increase that to 20 by typing 20s, and that will just make it a smoother curve. Now we'll use the Bezier spline to make the end. And what I'm doing here is making sure that I don't go beyond this end guideline with this intermediate control point. I'm going to stay on the guideline and not go higher either. And that'll give me a nice shape for the end of the bat. Now for the other end, I'm going to come up here to the height of that point right from the origin here. I'm drawing this base with the center line along the red axis because that just makes it easier to lay things out. And one last line segment will complete the face. And we could delete the guidelines at this point because we don't need them anymore. And we have a pattern that could be printed full size and then used as to create the template. Or if you wanted to, you could use Follow Me and create a 3D representation of the bat. Might be kind of handy to do that just to make sure you're happy with the shape that you get. It's a little easier to look at it in 3D and turned like that. And if you wanted both, just take a moment. We'll double click on that and copy that profile out, and then run Follow Me. And you've got both the 3D version and a 2D view. Alright, so that's one way to do this. Another way, we won't save the changes to this, would be to start out. I'm going to go ahead and put a guideline on the center line and put one in at the 3/8 and also at the end of the bat. And then here I'm going to draw, let's stand that up in 2016. You just hit the right arrow key and that'll just stand that circle up. And I'm going to draw a circle of the radius at the base of the handle section here. And then we'll use Move and Copy, and we'll copy that down 5 inches times 6, and that's created a series of circles. And then you can edit the radius for each circle in turn. Just doing this in Entity Info. And you just plug along until you have all of them set. I think I got that one wrong. That one should be 13/16. This, of course, could apply to a table leg if you want. And now I'm going to use the Curviloft extension and just check the box. And now there's the shape. Of course, this doesn't get us the pattern. We still have to pry the pattern out of this. But we can draw the ends to complete this in the same way that we did the ends on the other bat. We'll use Follow Me. And again, on this end, come on, you. Give it a nice clear place to inference to. And there we go. Now, the Curviloft extension makes a group of the shape that it creates. We don't really need that to be a group, and we would like this all to be a component. We call it a bat, and we can also soften the edges, including the coplanar edges, and that leaves us with the bat. Now, to get a profile out of that, just draw a rectangle. By default, SketchUp will want to put that rectangle on the ground plane, and since the bat is centered on the red axis, that's perfect. And we'll just use an intersect faces with model, and then I'll just move this away so you can see. And there's the pattern, and we could divide that in half if we were so inclined, and clean up the waste, and we have that same pattern of half the bat. You could use this for a table leg or any turned object if you know those offsets from the center line, and you can probably think of other ways to put this to use as well.